UW System President Jay Rothman recently announced that he would be proposing a tuition increase to the Board of Regents. Rothman is proposing a 5% tuition increase for in-state students starting next school year. This would be the first in-state tuition increase in a decade. Former Governor Scott Walker froze tuition a decade ago. That tuition freeze was lifted in 2021. However, the Board of Regents has not voted to increase tuition the past 2 years. Joining me now on the show is UW System President Jay Rothman. First off, thanks so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. Good to be with you today, Lance.
Okay, let's start by just talking about the proposal to raise in-state tuition by 5%. Where is that money going to go specifically?
Actually, when you think about it, we've been had a 10-year tuition freeze that we've been going through, and with inflationary pressures, inflation being 8% last year and 6% this year, notwithstanding, although nominal inflation over 2% a year over a long period of time adds up. So it's really going to go to fund the ongoing operation of the university system. And really allow us to remain competitive and deliver the quality of education that we need to for our students, and really to make sure that the university remains financially viable, because those are the two missions. We've got a mission of making sure we're as affordable as we possibly can be, and we did an affordability study last summer and discovered, not surprisingly, we were the best value in the Midwest in terms of affordability, but we also have to ensure that we can deliver a quality education to our students. You know, that students deserve that, our parents expect that. This increase will allow us to make the investments in enrollment, in academic advising and so forth, that will allow us to continue to have the strength of the system that we need.
How much money exactly are we talking about? Do you estimate that this will raise for the university?
It's about $38 million in terms of overall, in terms of what the tuition increase will be.
And I know you mentioned that this is kind of going to cover an overarching area, but is a lot of this going to go towards actual staffing pay increases?
It will, in a lot of senses, because we have asked the legislature to provide a pay increase through the budget, through the budget that the Board of Regents submitted to the governor, and part of this will cover our portion. The state pays 70%. Historically, we pay 30%. This will allow the universities to cover a portion of that pay increase as well. And again, if you think about a university, how important people, it's a people business at the end of the day. It's those professors, it's those instructors, it's the university staff that really make the whole engine run. And we're doing right now, we're doing some where our students are just acknowledging what professors have made a difference in their lives. There are shout-outs that are available on our social media feeds. Those are the impacts that they have. Those are the people we want to make sure are fairly compensated, because right now, on a compensation level, we are below market. And that's not healthy in terms of retaining the great talent that it needs to turn out that great education.
All right, so why is this money needed right now? Can you explain? Because there were federal dollars as well being used up until this year. So there is a bigger gap than maybe we've seen the last couple of years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think the federal dollars mask some of the challenges that the university had. Again, a 10-year tuition freeze is a long period of time to go without an adjustment, particularly when we hit more inflationary periods of time that we have in the last couple of years in particular. And that's really what we're focused on, because again, we come back to, we want to make sure we're affordable. We think even with this tuition increase, we will still be the best value in the Midwest among public universities, but we also need to be able to ensure that we can deliver the quality of education, that we've got the right people, that we've got the right facilities to deliver the world-class education our students deserve, so that they can be competitive, not just in Wisconsin, not just in the Midwest, but in the global talent market.
State funding varies widely from state to state based off how much money you get from the legislature. Correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you were asking for around $435 million in the next budget, an increase from where you were. Is that correct?
I think what we're looking for is a 4% increase in each year of the biennium. That's what the budget that the Regents submitted to the governor. That, on an operating budget perspective, was about a $114 million increase. And I think we need to keep in mind, and the pay plan would be in addition to that. But I think we need to keep in mind, with inflation running at 8% and 6%, even without compounding, that's 14%. So our dollars, the buying power of our dollars, have declined. And we understand that we need to be looking at some of the revenue levers.
When you look at your peers, especially in the Great Lakes region here, are you getting appropriate funding, you think, from the state legislature?
You know, I think we have to look at, the state over a number of years has made a significant investment in the university system. And I look at that and ask myself that question every day when I come into work. What would Wisconsin look like without the UW system? I grew up in this state. I've spent my entire life here. I love this place. It is that investment that has in part, made this state as strong as it is. I think we're at the point now where we just simply need to continue to make that investment to continue the economic vibrancy of Wisconsin. We're in a war for talent. Our employers are telling us that. You know, engineers, nurses, teachers, data scientists, accountants, that list goes on and on. The university can be an extraordinary talent magnet. We are a proven source for that, of being able to attract, develop, and retain talent. We need to continue to invest in that if Wisconsin is going to have long-term economic vibrancy. I think that's what this is all about in my mind. And when you think about the retention, 87% of our in-state students who graduate from our universities are still in the state 5 years after. I mean, that says a lot about Wisconsin. It says a lot about how Wisconsin continue to be strong economically in a global market for talent. The university system has to be an important component of that. We are a creation of the state. We are here to serve the state. That's what our goal is.
The UW La Crosse chancellor said recently that if this money isn't approved for a tuition increase, that he'd be looking at having to cut staff and faculty. Is that the case at La Crosse or other places across the
I
system?
think that we would have that challenge, because if we have to pick up that piece of the pay plan that isn't funded by the state, we have some universities that would have that Hobson's choice about do they have to provide an increase for some of their people, and how do they pay for it by terminating other people. We don't want to be in that position. I mean, we want to be long-term. We want to be strong and viable as an institution. We think the revenue requests we have made, both from a tuition side and from our requests to the state, are reasonable in light of the inflationary pressures that the entire world is facing. But we also want to be responsible stewards on the expense side. So we will do our best to manage through wherever this shakes itself out, because ultimately, at the end of the day, we're here for our students. We want them to be successful. We want them to have the education that they deserve.
Some Republicans just proposed a bill that would tie tuition increases to having to be below inflationary rates. Would you be okay with wording like that?
You know, I think I look at it, and I know that was introduced by Representative Murphy and Senator Jacques. And, you know, the fact of the matter is the tuition request that the recommendation I'll make to the Board of Regents is below the level of inflation. You know, we want to be responsible. We're not here to say we've got to get the last dollar. We've got to manage within our means. We have to be reasonable in terms of our asks of our students and our parents. We want to be reasonable of our asks of the state. We think we've done that with the two requests we've made on the revenue side.
Obviously, a lot of people complain that secondary education costs are already so high. What is kind of your selling point or your message to them as far as what you're doing to keep those costs down while also asking for this?
You know, I think I go back to the affordability study. We are the best value of any public university in the Midwest. The best value. We are affordable. We are absolutely affordable. So I look at that and say, you can make that broad statement that, well, higher education costs have gotten way out of control. Maybe in some places, and you'll hear stories about somebody ranks up $250,000 worth of debt to get their undergraduate degree. If you've racked up $250,000 of debt within the UW system, you've been in the system way, way too long. When I look at our average debt for our students over the last 10 years has actually declined, even before we adjusted for inflation. So we are a very affordable institution, and I think a great value for the citizens of the state of Wisconsin.
All right, President Rothman, I want to thank you so much for the time here this week.
My pleasure. Great to be with you.